Hello there YouTube, my name is Chuggy and today I am playing some Battlefield 3, playing some Team Deathmatch on Gulf of Oman, and today guys, it's question time part 16. Yet again guys, you have submitted some fantastic questions and today I've got 28 of your brilliant questions to get through this week. Before I get to your questions, I'll just obviously explain how you can submit yours for next time. Basically all you have to do is submit your question down in the comments below, and what I'll do is I'll pick a load of questions out for the next question time, and if I don't pick your question out to be answered in the video, I'll try and answer it basically in the comments itself as a reply. Do bear in mind though that if I don't reply, it's normally because I've already answered the question. So perhaps keep an eye on previous ones if you want to know my answers on something, so I'll say that much. But anyway, I've got 28 questions to get through today, and without further ado, let's get to it. So first question this week comes from Vordays, and they ask it's a Formula 1 question. It's a little contrived, so I'll explain the backstory. So essentially, in Formula 1 in 2011, we had a few new teams join, and in that group of new teams, there were three. One was called Lotus Racing. Now, Lotus is an important name in Formula 1. Back in the 60s, the old days, Colin Chapman and his Lotus Racing team, they were legends, because they were not only breaking the rules of what was and was not possible, but they were winning races. They were the guys to be and the guys to beat. Lotus, as most teams obviously experience, they had a little bit of a decline and they pulled out of the sport in the 90s. But with Lotus Racing, under the management of Tony Fernandez, who acquired legally the licensing rights to the name, he brought the name back into Formula 1 in 2011, and it was great. So as a rookie team, they had a great first rookie year. Then the next year, something strange happened. Tell a lie, it was 2010, wasn't it? Because 2011 is when it all got weird. 2011 is when it got weird, so my apologies for that. So 2010, Lotus Racing appeared with Tony Fernandez being the guy who owns the team. Fine. 2011, things got weird. There was a team called Renault, and they suddenly became Lotus Renault, with backing by the car company Lotus. And bear in mind at this point that the two entities are different. So people who make like the Lotus cars, like Lotus Elise, Siege, etc., they were separate to this Team Lotus. In fact, I think I'm right in saying that the Lotus car group came about because of the racing team, because they were building cars using their racing sort of background as sort of a marketing point. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, the car company got involved, and they backed. I don't think they bought, but they heavily invested in the Renault Formula 1 team, and they became Lotus Renault. So all of a sudden you had two Lotus teams. By this point, Lotus Racing had become Team Lotus, and what was it the other way around? I forget. Anyway, so long and short of it is this: you had two teams called Lotus in the grid, and obviously a lot of people were going, "What? What?" And yeah, I mean, even to this day, people are still a bit. This really happened. This is a bit embarrassing. Vordays' question is, in my eyes, who was the real Team Lotus? Or the real Lotus? Well, to me, Lotus was all about, I wasn't alive obviously in the 60s, but from what I've heard, Lotus was all about enjoyment, having a good time, doing what couldn't be done before. And for me, the real Team Lotus today is Tony Fernandez's, Lotus Racing, it's now Caterham F1, again, name changes involved. It's his outfit. Right, because they entered the sport as a new team, they had nothing, and they put in a great first year, compared to, massive budgets and everything else of all the other teams. Then you had, obviously, Renault experience. They've got a long history of being, not only various teams, but winning world championships and everything else, and it felt like they were kind of just trying to get involved and trying to ride on the back of the success of what was Team Lotus, because, they were getting fan support and all the rest, just because the fact, obviously, they were Lotus, but also they were doing stuff. There's a great amount of community interaction, which Caterham, as they are now, do, which no other team does, and I do respect them for that. Anyway, yeah, I think that Caterham, as they are now, are more, or live more towards the actual Lotus name, compared to what is Lotus now. As it so happens for 2012, as I mentioned, the team which was Team Lotus or Lotus Racing, whatever they were, are now Caterham F1. If you can believe it, Tony Fernandez, he owns an airline, went on to buy the Caterham car company, just straight, and they're now racing under the Caterham name, and Lotus Renault have now become fully Lotus, because that all got resolved. And there was a court case and things about who could use the name and who couldn't, all this jazz. So yeah, really to answer the question and to back off the history, yeah, Caterham, in my eyes, are the real Lotus now. They are, you know, the people who represent, I think, the values best of what Lotus was, and I wish them all the best. I think they're a great team. Even though they aren't winning races, they are doing a lot of incredibly good work, and fair play to them for that. Anyway, kind of a waffly question, but thank you 4 days for the cracking question. And with that, thank you, also thank you, and we'll move on to the next one, which comes from Fallout Man 112. And they ask, what is out of all the games which will be released in the near future, what is the one which I'm looking forward to the most? And, you know, for instance, Fallout Man lists, you know, you've got Assassin's Creed 3, Black Ops 2, Borderlands 2. Just like last year, we're going to get absolutely bamboozled by a load of, you know, top quality titles, all for Christmas. I know for a fact my wallet is going to hate this sort of game rush, I know. But to answer the question, what am I most looking forward to? It's going to be actually Need for Speed Most Wanted. The reason I say that is, well, it's twofold. First of all, I'm a racing game fan. I play Formula 1, I play other racing games as well. I do like a racing game. But the thing which really made me go wow is the Gamescom trailer, which has happened now. Obviously, Gamescom has all been done and dusted at this point. And basically, it appears that Need for Speed Most Wanted is basically a reimagining of Need for Speed Most Wanted mixed with Burnout Paradise. And again, for those of you who don't know, I'm a massive Burnout fan, to the point where in Paradise I was, number 2 in the world on the PS3 as a racer. So I am really hyped for Most Wanted. It looks sweet, both visually in terms of the cars and obviously the graphics and everything else. It looks super sweet. I'm really hyped for that. I'm really looking forward to it, and you will be seeing stuff of me playing that game in the near future here, guys. That's a promise. But there are so many games, to be honest. You know, like we've got Hitman, we've got Medal of Honor. There's just so many games coming out. I just don't know what to do with myself. But no, to answer that, Need for Speed Most Wanted is the top of the list for me. Anyway, I'll say that. And Fallout Mountain has a second question, and they ask, since I mentioned that I was interested in the Olympics, but then I wasn't really because it seemed a bit corporate, they're asking, did I manage to catch the opening ceremony and what I thought about it? Well, I'll kind of extend it and talk about the whole Olympics, but I did indeed catch the opening ceremony, and I cannot say how proud I was. I've never been prouder to be British before, you know. It was a great show. There was a few weird points which I don't think anyone who wasn't in this country wouldn't get, but having said that, I think it was a great show. I think the Olympics were fantastic. This being, you know, a little inward-facing, Team GB did a fantastic job. They are all legends, and I think, you know, it all went off without too many issues. There was a bit of a flag issue at the start, but that was resolved. Yeah, I just think it's been superb, and roll on the Paralympics, I say. Ooh, excuse the pun there, that could be a bit dodgy, but never mind. No, I think the Olympics were fantastic, and I really did enjoy watching them. I wasn't able to go in person, unfortunately, but I watched pretty much, most of the coverage on TV. I think, like a lot of people, I got kind of swept up by it all once it actually was here, rather than, I know, the pessimism of, it's going to cause problems. But no, it was a great event, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. I'll say that. So thank you, Fallout Man, for those great questions. Next question comes from mdace14, and they ask, do I think that DICE is waiting for the next generation of consoles to release the next Battlefield? Good question, and I know for a fact that new consoles exist. Microsoft have confirmed that a new console exists, and a senior guy from EA, I don't know exactly who he is or what his name is or anything like that, but I certainly saw it on one of the gaming websites, says that he's seen both the next generation PlayStation and Xbox, and that they are spectacular, I believe is the quote. So yeah, the next generation consoles, they will be coming, and I expect that they'll be here this time next year, to be honest, or coming up to Christmas, because that is obviously when a lot of sales will be made. And I do think we'll probably see the next Battlefield on a next-gen console. There's the current thing of if you pre-order the limited edition of Medal of Honor Warfighter, you get access to the Battlefield 4 beta, much like they did with the reboot of Medal of Honor and the Battlefield 3 beta. I could see, very easily that it's on the next-gen console. And I think it's interesting to see that people or games companies, of course, they have to think ahead with consoles and hardware and everything coming out in the near future. But yeah, I think it's interesting that we're seeing them sooner, perhaps, than I expect. I would have thought given it another few years, perhaps. But no, I think we're going to be getting consoles next year, and I think that is where the next Battlefield will be, along with a lot of games, to be honest, actually. So exciting times. Thank you, MDace, for the question. Next question comes from Keelan, and they ask, will I be getting F1 2012 and doing a season with Matt, Tom and Mike's? And for those of you who don't know, I did a thing over on a guy called Tom Jakes' channel, and we did a full season, sort of 4-player co-op kind of thing. Well, as I've said multiple times, I'm very, very on the fence, I guess, about F1 2012, because I'm seriously doubting they'll be able to fix all the issues 2011 had, compared to what compared to the time they've got to make 2012, I guess. There's a demo. I'm very thankful to see that, and I'm basically going to base my opinion on the game on that demo. So I don't know is the real answer at this point. We'll see. So yeah, I think that's the only way I can really honestly answer that, though. Thank you, Keelan, for the question. Now, before I get into the next question, I'll just explain what's going on here. Just playing some close quarters, and I'm playing the Assault with a non-close quarters weapon. This is the G3, and boy oh boy oh boy is this thing a absolute beast once you get it sorted out with some particular attachments. In particular, the flash suppressor gets rid of a lot of the recoil, and this thing becomes a hip-fire machine, which is kind of ironic since it's a 7.62, it's meant to be a marksman's kind of weapon anyway. I digress. It's a nice gameplay, it's a nice weapon, I recommend the G3 once you unlock it in co-op a lot. It's kind of a dog to start, but once you get past the initial part and you start unlocking things, you're in business, I'll say that much. Anyway, yeah, again, thank you, Keelan, for that question. And the next question now comes from V-Ghosts, and they ask, if I could make my own Formula 1 track, what type of track would it be and where would I make it? Now, I think actually V-Ghosts has got an interesting little clause here, because to me, a lot of Formula 1 tracks today are terrible, because they are created, right? They are not born, if you get what I mean. Old school Formula 1 tracks were made because either there was a bit of land which people could drive on, or it was like an interesting terrain feature or whatever else. A lot of Formula 1 tracks today are built like houses, you know, they go, we need to build a Formula 1 track here, we'll create all this general stuff. If I were to build a Formula 1 track today, I'd go back to like the old school way. I would not necessarily build it in this country or somewhere else. I'd find somewhere where the land was interesting, I guess, where there was some interesting contours, where there was some space for some, I don't know, some really fast corners, some dips, some undulation in the course, which would really challenge the driver. I wouldn't have it as a crazy long kind of thing, like say a Nürburgring, Nürburgring Nordschleife, you know, where it's 13 or 14 miles. But I'd think in between, I don't know, a Silverstone and a Spa, so maybe a 3.5 mile high speed using the hills to create almost like a roller coaster style. I don't know. But yeah, I would certainly more approach it in terms of looking at the land available rather than just trying to put together a sequence of corners in a place where I could build a hotel. I'd say that much. Anyway, thank you for the question. It's an interesting one, and certainly this is why I kind of cry a lot when I see a lot of new courses like, say, Korea, which are just built and then just not touched after the Formula 1 leaves. In fact, I think I heard a story that Korea was first on the calendar in 2010. They came back the next year, 2011, obviously, and there's still things that people left in fridges there. Bit weird. Anyway, I'll say that much. Thank you, Vigos, for the question. Next question comes from TDunkC 1994, and they ask, if I could participate in the Olympics or any particular Olympic sport for Team GB, what would it be? That is a really tricky one, you know. To be honest, I'm a massive fan of rugby. I know rugby is an Olympic sport, but it will be for Rio, rugby sevens. I'd probably do that. There's just something about rugby I really like. It's kind of got, you know, the fast pace, I don't know, camaraderie, I don't know, of football, but also, you know, physicality of like wrestling or boxing, whatever, you know. There's something about rugby I like. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, probably rugby sevens for Rio if I ever had the opportunity. I highly think that'll ever happen, but never mind, you can dream. And they follow on with that to ask, do you think it'd be a neat idea if, say, for football, and I hope I got the right end of the stick here, that for football, for instance, that we have the equivalent of Team GB as well? Because due to the way that the United Kingdom, Great Britain is all built up, we have England, Scotland and Wales in the football, but in the Olympics we represent ourselves as Team GB. So all the countries are combined. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting, instead of playing, say, as England, Scotland and Wales, to play as GB, because we've got a lot of very, very good football players in all three countries. It kind of sucks, for instance, in England's case, that they only seem to play well when it's for their club, but, you know, it's an idea, and I would like to see it, just to see what would happen. So yeah, why the heck not, at a sort of Great Britain All-Stars kind of thing. Mind you, I guess that's what it's meant to be anyway. Oh, I'm rambling now. Anyway, thank you, T-Dunk, for the question. I hope that kind of answers it. Interesting one, for sure. Next question comes from the Bad 654, and they ask, will I be getting Assassin's Creed 3? Well, let me do it like this. I'm a massive fan of Assassin's Creed, and I really love the series, but I'm seriously concerned about 3. The reason I'm concerned about 3 is I just hope that I'm wrong on this one, but I think that the game is perhaps starting to sell out to its customer base. And the reason I say that is, the reason I loved Assassins is for its story. It was quite out there, quite science fiction. But the thing is, all I've seen so far of Assassin's Creed 3 is, here you are in America for the first time, let's kill some British. The whole point of Assassins, and this isn't really a spoiler, but it's Assassins v Templars. And it does seem so far that all we've really seen is Assassins and Americans v Britain. And as far as I'm aware, Britain isn't entirely made up of Templars. They're meant to be Templars on all sides. I just haven't seen any of it yet. So yeah, I'm hyped for it. I've got it pre-ordered, but I'm very concerned at the same time. I just hope that it's, I don't know, a bit of bad marketing or something, because I would hate to see the story get, you know, I don't know, diluted or ruined, just for the sake of getting some more sales in a particular region, I don't know. So yeah, I will be getting it, but I'm worried, and I might cancel the pre-order if I don't see what I want to see, you know, something more about the story rather than just the setting. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for the question there, the Bad. Great question. Next question comes from 2-Way Y, and they ask, did I have any good beers or ales while I was in Belgium? Well, they didn't particularly have any ales, as I would call it back home here in the UK, but yeah, they had plenty of brilliant lagers. I was in Bruges, and there was a great lager called Bruges Lot, which is just amazing, it's so smooth. There was, I forget what it was called, but it was served in a massive, well, if you know what a yard of ale is, it's a particular glass. It wasn't quite a yard, but a massive glass, I forget what it was called. But that was very nice as well. And yeah, I mean, the thing which got me though is just the variety of beers in one location. Like, we have something like 5,000 or so beers brewed here in the UK, but that's across the whole landmass. I think in Belgium, in Bruges, alone, there's about 50 or 60. So yeah, there was a lot of lovely beers. I didn't have time to sample them all, unfortunately, but that's the way it goes. But certainly, return trip, I think I'll be sampling more fine alcohol, I'll say that. Anyway, thank you 2-Way Y for the question. Next question comes from Golf Tango Golf, and they ask a really great question, and something I really do need to work on here. And they ask, what the heck am I doing with Task Force 7? And for those of you who don't know, Task Force 7 was a platoon set up on Battlelog for some, I know, community interaction and things for you guys. So my idea with Task Force 7 was for it to have sort of like a sister clan effect with 7, obviously, which is the clan that I am in. But at the same time, to help you guys sort of buddy up and get into games and things in squads and stuff together. It's just unfortunate that I haven't really been able to make the leap, if you will, of trying to get stuff going, just with things going on, personal life and everything else. So what I will be doing in the near future is trying to rally you guys together into little units. I don't know, you know, what I would say, guys, is go on to like the wall thing of the Task Force 7 sort of Battlelog and say, you know, I'm playing some Battlefield right now, anyone want to squad up, and go from there. Because certainly in my experience, games like Battlefield, when you bring people together into teams, it just takes on a whole nother dimension. It just becomes glorious. So I'll say that much. So yeah, my bad Golf Tango Golf, that I haven't really done anything with it, but it is on my agenda to do once I get things a little bit more sorted here. So thank you for the question, and yeah, thank you very much, and keep an eye out for things going on there. And if you haven't joined already, head over onto Battlelog and search for Task Force 7. So thank you again, Golf Tango Golf. Next question comes from the haxxx, and they ask, when do I think we'll see the next generation of Xbox and PlayStation consoles? Kind of already answered that, so probably didn't get that. Anyway, but yeah, next year, probably for Christmas, and I would expect Battlefield 4 to be up there with like the early titles. I don't know, we'll see. So thank you, the haxxx, for the question. Next question comes from the Fenholm, and they ask, if I were able, or at least I hope this is a question, if I were able to dictate to a team of 12 people, how would I sort of split up the class ratios? You know, how many assaults would I have? How many supports would I have, etc.? Well, in theory, the best mix would be in each squad to have, so 3 squads would be to have one of every class, right? Because then it's nicely balanced. But in reality, you will need a few more of one type of kit to another. So out of the 12, I'd probably say I'd have at least 6 assaults. Reason being that they are obviously the medics, they'll be able to keep the rest of the team in the fight. I'd then have 3 supports to keep those guys all ammoed up, and then I would have 2 engineers. I'd only have 1 recon, and you might be surprised by that, but the thing is, a single recon often works at their best. And you know, if you have your spawn beacons, whatever else, for one squad, say the Recons with a group of assaults, you know, you can get them inserted nice and quick and attack somewhere. So yeah, I would say 6 assaults, 2 supports, 3 engineers, just doing the maths in my head to make sure this all adds up, and 1 recon. I hope I've got that right. So yeah, a bit of a weird mix, but I think in reality, in an actual match, that's what would work. Of course, you probably have to hone that, tweak it a little bit per map, but no, I think that's kind of like, if you want a general form for team balance, what you actually probably see in game, to be honest, and what for me I think would work just in my prior knowledge and prior experience of things. So yeah, I'll say that much. So thank you, the Fenholm, for that interesting question. Next question comes from Rodrigo Lanas, and they ask, have I ever thought of doing some streaming on Twitch? Live streaming in general is on the agenda, and once I get myself hooked up to some nice fast internet, which will be happening in a week or two, that will be happening. So live streaming, that is going to be happening. So thank you Rodrigo for that question. It will be happening. Next question comes from rfish44, and they ask, what are my thoughts on Airsoft and Paintball, and if I had to rank one above the other, which one would I rank higher? Well, I've never done Airsoft, but I have done Paintball, and both are, well, I would say relatively similar, but they're kind of similar in terms of you have imitation firearms and you have some projectiles. So in Paintball you have paintballs, Airsoft you have some like air bullets. Yeah, hello birds. Not sure if you can hear that. To be honest, having done paintball quite a few times, it's great fun. I can only imagine Airsoft is the same. I probably would rank Airsoft above, purely on the grounds of domestically, you don't have to have a shower afterwards to get all the paint out your hair. It probably hurts a bit more, you probably get bruised and whatnot, but yeah, I think Airsoft would be a bit more fun, I don't know. Practicality, who knows? Anyway, thank you for Rfish for the question, it's an interesting one. Next question comes from Psychofish, and they ask a really interesting question. What is my opinion on video games turning children violent? Well, you want to know something? I definitely think it is a factor. But I think what's more of a factor is children playing games which they're not meant to play. You know, kids playing Call of Duty when they're like 7 or 8, when it's an 18 or a 16, whatever it may be. Or when people play games like, I don't know, you know, horror games, I don't know, Amnesia was probably a bad example when they're young, you know, it's probably going to screw them up a bit mentally. They won't be mentally prepared for it. You know, kids playing GTA, for instance, that's probably a better example. Yeah, I think that it does screw kids up. I think the real issue is the fact that they're not ready for it, and I think that's more the responsibility of the parents, to be honest. I think I kind of said something along the same lines as well in the past. So anyway, keep it brief. Yeah, I do think video games would make people violent, but it's more because they aren't ready for it, and I think there needs to be a bit of, I don't know, preparation, sense, understanding of what a game is these days. Who knows? Anyway, waffly one. But thank you, Psychofish, for the great question. Next question comes from Kostas Dradzukas, and I hope I said that right. And they ask, do I ever get frustrated while playing games because teammates aren't doing what they need to be doing? Oh my goodness gracious me, yes I do. And it's kind of the only real bad thing with Battlefield, is that because it is a team game, you might be working 110%, but you will be punished for the loss because the rest of your team weren't. It's just one of those things, you gotta take like the good moments with the bad, unfortunately. Yeah, it does frustrate me. And you know, for instance, I'm just taking a break from playing Battlefield personally just to get a little bit of space before Armored Kill, because you know, you don't want to get too depressed before anything comes up, because then you just get more frustrated at it. Yeah, I do get annoyed. It is an unfortunate side effect of gaming, but there's the old saying, you pay for who you play with, and you got to work with what you got. So yeah, it is frustrating. There isn't really much you can do, other than obviously find a group of people who you know and obviously play games with quite regularly, but other than that, there's not much you can do, and it is very frustrating. So I feel your pain, man, and yeah, I do get frustrated by it, so there you go. Thank you for the question. Next question comes from Rodrigo again, and they ask, do I play with aim assist on or off? I actually think I play with it on. I'm pretty sure I play with it on, purely because on console you need, well, in my eyes, I'm not quick enough with the sticks to get that precise. There are obviously pros and cons of having it on and off, but no, I play with it on for now. I always have done, and well, until I start playing on PC with a mouse, I'll probably make the transition finally away from it, obviously to actually keep consistent across, you know, platforms. I don't know, we'll see. So thank you, Rodrigo, for the other question. Next question comes from Nightmare, and they actually pose a question about the L96, and I can confirm it. Basically, in one of the patches previously, the L96's sights were screwed up. they were not aligned properly. So basically, an unaligned sniper rifle is useless, and I had to stop using it. And it seems like Nightmare is saying the same thing. And the question is it back to normal? And goodness gracious me, yes it is. And it's good to have an old friend back. The L96 is a lovely weapon. Nice mix between the M98B and the M40A5 in my eyes. So yeah, we will. Yeah, it's back, and it's back with a vengeance. I'll say that. So thank you, Nightmare, for that. Next question comes from Ibrot Pone, I think I said that right, and they ask, do I have any tips for people starting out in Battlefield 3, and what's my highest streak? I presume kill streak. Highest kill streak is 30. To be honest, I have so much to say about, if you're new to the game, what to do. I don't have time to say about it now, but what I will say is I've got a playlist called Battlefield Win, and that's me talking about all of the kits in general, what you need to be looking out for, and watch those, because those help a lot. I've been, I produced them to do that, and people said it has, so that's cracking. And yeah, I would recommend having a look at those if you're at all curious. Unfortunately, I do have a few more questions. Unfortunately, I have run out of time, as you can see, and I'm going to have to answer these in text. But basically, guys, thank you so much for all your fantastic questions, as always. Yeah, if you have any questions, I think I said this at the start, please do feel free to leave them down in the comments below, and I'll get to answering next question time. But as before, guys, thank you so very much for watching and commenting and asking me questions. It's fantastic to see such a great variety and everything else. I do have a question for you, though, perhaps a little change of pace. Basically, guys, I would like to know, did you see this video in your sub box? Because I've seen steadily my views going down, and it just so happens to correlate with YouTube adding this pinning feature and some such. So I'm trying to figure out if YouTube are trying to do some creative, I don't know, categorization based on what people actually repeatedly go to. I don't know. Anyway, guys, question for you: did you see this in your sub box? And do you have me pinned? If you did, that would be a great thing just to give me a little bit of feedback on. I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going on. So I'll say that much. Anyway, guys, as always, thank you so very much for watching. Please do feel free to leave your questions down in the comment section below. If you want to see more videos from myself, you can always subscribe. But anyway, guys, as always, thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you next time in a few weeks out on the battlefield.